everyone, and welcome to Session 3 of the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. My name is Randy Henderson, and I am one of the Black Feminist Reading Circle members of this online group. This session runs from January 20th until June 2nd and includes 2 week-long breaks. Our democratically selected reading material is Harriet A. Washington's book, Medical Apartheid, The Dark History of Medical Experimentation on Black Americans from Colonial Times to the Present. Our book group meets each Tuesday evening from 6:30 to 8 on the Google Plus Hangouts on Air platform. You may find the Global Black Feminist Reader Circle on Google Plus, YouTube, and Facebook, and always feel free to join us in reading our story together.
I am Joel Jones from Charleston, South Carolina. I'm your moderator for this afternoon. Welcome to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. Today is March the 3rd, 2015. Today we will be covering Chapter 5, The Restless Dead, Anatomical Dissection and Display. At this time, we would like to go around the Google Earth here, and would like everyone to introduce themselves.
My name is Georgette Moses. I'm participating from Columbia, South Carolina this evening, and look forward to our usual deep discussions about this chapter and book.
And we just had a new person. I think she's muted though. Came on, Purify Love. Michelle Odom. I am in Brooklyn, along with Randy Danielle. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. We are in session 3, which runs through June 9th of this year, reading Medical Apartheid, The Dark History of Medical Experimentation on Black Americans from Colonial Times to the Present. You can look for us on Google Plus or YouTube or Facebook to learn more about us or to join our community on Google Plus to get updated on everything that's happening and find links to get into the conversation. So welcome, and I'm happy to be here. Wasn't sure I was gonna make it tonight, Joelle.
Okay.
I'm Kim, and this is my daughter, Johnny.
Hi.
Hi.
She just came in. I'm Brandon, and I'm in Brooklyn also. And I guess that's it for me. I'm enjoying reading the book. I don't know if you call it enjoying, but
Right.
Back to you, Joelle.
Okay, thank you. The chapter illustrates the horrors of a medical apartheid. The author, Harriet A. Washington, gives several accounts of the roles of individuals, institutions, and government policies that allow the degradation of African Americans across the country. Reading the excerpt, no place in the United States offers a great opportunities for acquisitions of anatomical knowledge, subjects being obtained from among the colored population in significant numbers for every purpose, and proper dissection carried on without offending any individuals in our community. This was advertisement for the South Carolina Medical College, which is MUSC down here in Charleston. The above advertisement signifies the attitude of society at that particular time. However, as you read through this chapter, the dates are not as distant in the past as one may think. Today, 29 states have what is called presumed consent, statutes which allow the coroner to harvest organs of individuals without prior permission. In 1997, the Los Angeles Coroner Office was found to have sold more than 500 pairs of coronaries to a year to an eye and tissue office transplant bank. 80% were from blacks and Latinos whose coronaries had fetched a profit of 1,000%. After reading this chapter and book, I have a better understanding why African Americans, the poor and underserved citizens in our community, have distrust for the medical corporation. I also look at every university that has a medical school and wonder what atrocities happen there. And that's what I do now. As we go further into the reading, we're going to see that if you got a medical university, you know, around us, or whatever happened and whatever medical advances, it was done with our bodies,
Right,
dead or alive.
right.
A. Casper Yeagin.
Casper Yeagin. On September 11, 1977, Casper Yeagin, a 68-year-old retired auto mechanic, vanished. His sister, Pearlie Smith, with whom he lived, contacted the Washington, D.C. Missing Person Unit and provided the photograph the police officer requested. He said he would be back, but I didn't hear anything, Smith told the Washington Post. Smith, Yeagin's niece, Minnie Camp, and other family members made relentless inquiries to the police at the 5th District Station House for more than a month. They also called the area hospital emergency departments, which the officers should have done. Everyone they spoke to assured them that Yeagin had never been brought into a hospital. Camp called the police again on November 1st, 1977, and reached the officer with whom Smith had first spoken. He visited them again and made several calls which revealed that his original report had never been properly filed. The police made other errors as well. The officer had never personally checked emergency rooms, and the missing persons units had never followed procedures by checking Yeagin's description against the list of recently deceased identified patients. When the police finally did this, they found Yeagin's body on a slab in the autopsy laboratory of Howard University Medical School, where he was on the verge of being dissected by students. 1. How often do the bodies of the poor, the homeless, the friendless, or those who, like Yeagin, simply look that way to medical personnel, end up on an autopsy table?
Anybody want to take a stab at that? Many. Many,
Yeah.
as we will find out.
Yeah. And as you said, Joelle, you know, just reading this stuff enlightens us on things that have been going on all along and all around us and are still going on. That you have, you know, I think most of us probably have no idea about. You know, who thinks about where hospitals and scientific research labs get their bodies from? You know, so you're right. The answer is many.
No, I'm thinking, when I was reading this, I immediately thought about that young man. I don't remember if it was Alabama or Georgia or what, was the teenager they found rolled up in the exercise mats in the gym.
Yeah, Georgia.
And they claimed that he was, he went in there to get his sneakers. However, his sneakers were found on top of, he was upside down and the sneakers were on top of his feet. So that lie didn't work out. And then later, they found out some camera footage, security footage of one of the star football players might be involved, but he's related to somebody in, I want to say, like the government, FBI, CIA, something, one of those alphabet agencies, and so they're kind of like giving it a pass. But what was interesting was the parents kept posting on their website, for seeking justice. Well, they didn't get his body. They couldn't get to his body, and then his organs were missing.
Oh.
And that's not the first incidents that I've heard of this. These young people, so there's some kind of altercation with the police or someone else, and then that they take them in as a John Doe. The coroner, we already know the coroners in most of these states don't have a formal education if they're elected into these offices, so you don't know who's handling what and for what reason. And body parts are a lucrative business. So, and reading this made me say, oh, okay, it's been going on for a long time. This association from the humanity of the person, because they need this resource.
Right.
And that's us.
Yeah. The second question, what role has race played in such events in the past and today?
One of the comments in the chapter is that, in fact, where's my bag? It's one of the comments in the chapter is about, well, white people realized at some point that they couldn't stop this activity, and so they started passing laws that would make it easier to get black and poor bodies. So, race has been a big factor, and the white, there's a comment about whites didn't like it and blacks didn't have the power to stop it, something like that. And even where whites sometimes objected, like there's a story about something that happened in New York where the Quakers were objecting, and but there were very few whites that were objecting to the theft of black bodies. But when they started going into white cemeteries,
Exactly.
then there was a problem, and there was a riot because, that's unacceptable. So because of our position, here's the quote at the beginning of the chapter. In Baltimore, the bodies of colored people exclusively are taken for dissection because the whites do not like it and the colored people cannot resist. So because of our position, being enslaved and all the rest, this is a part of our story.
And it was it's interesting that I think that happened somewhere in New York when they went in that we were talking about. About 5,000 people came in and destroyed the university's property and the whole 9 yards.
Beat up the doctors.
Beat up the doctors and things like that. I think the whole stigma of making minorities and African Americans sell it to other white folk like they're not human and then if they're not human, they don't have a soul, and so they don't have any rights, and so therefore it makes them easier to do all these atrocities to those to African Americans.
Right. But they've also, they've also been clear, at least since the Middle Passage, how black people felt about their bodies after death. One of the comments she makes is that the people that ran the slave ships knew that they
Yes.
could control the captives and keep them in fear from uprising, because the captives were so afraid of being dismembered. So they would dismember somebody in front of the other captives, so that they would know this would be you, because with our African spirituality, we were it's just in us to be concerned about what happens to us after death.
Mm-hmm.
And the third question I asked is, what is the name of the hospital in your town with documented folklore or, I spelled that wrong, wise tales about horrors such as Mr. Yeagin?
Are you a homegrown New Yorker, Kim?
I'm from Baltimore.
Okay.
Got out just in the nick of time.
Actually, they had a story about a Baltimore place in here, if I can remember. There's so much stuff in
They
here.
sure did. There's always a Baltimore story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
I don't know really, because I'm not from any place really. I have lived all over the country, grown up moving across the country. But there are a couple of stories in this chapter about Columbia University and New York University,
Yes.
both held in such high esteem that I mean it's almost comical to think of these doctors, as you were saying last week, Georgette, they build up this reputation, this image of being so honorable, and to picture them crawling around in the night, at graveyards, or paying people off to do that work. It gives me some kind of cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, it's like some horror movie you'd see on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
This is the real stuff.
Yeah.
But from my reading and just online and stuff like that, anywhere you had a minority population or wherever you have a medical school, this went on.
Yeah.
Whatever medical school that you can name, all of them are guilty of it. Okay. If they go back to well, as we read further, you'll see that this comes all the way up. Matter of fact, just the other day, and I when I looked online, a friend of mine made me aware that there were sterilization cases settled in Virginia and North Carolina and all over the nation, included about 75,000 people that they sterilized, and now they're trying to pay about $53,000 a piece for sterilization.
Wow.
Just new stuff. And then, but there's so many cases that's just in this one chapter that I can only pull out a couple.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So, go ahead.
Before you move on, Joel, I just wanted to say we had moved into a house in East New York, and it was a doctor's office. And up in the closet, it had a fake closet, and up above there, it was these jars of fetuses.
Oh.
So it was, and because we were rambunctious kids, we climbed up there and we found them. And so I still remember being that young and finding these jars with babies in them.
Oh,
And
Wow.
this was here in Brooklyn. And that had to be in the late '60s.
I
And
wonder
so I
what
guess
doctor
he
that
moved.
was.
Yeah, he moved out and left his babies up in there. So,
that's not
you
good.
know,
Wow.
Lord have mercy. It's just that you want this level of trust with medical professionals,
Mm.
and you just don't know.
Right. Right.
I think the more I read this book, you know, the very less I trust any of the medical profession, to tell you the truth. You know.
Yeah, that's why I was telling y'all last week, I hear her saying throughout the book that,
Yeah, I saw
things have
that.
gotten better.
I saw that. Matter of fact, I read a passage that she said, "Well, I am no way saying that they were murdered or anything like that." It's almost like a disclaimer. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
She didn't
I
want to
can
get
see the
sued.
I can
Yes.
I can see the page winking. Okay, wink, wink.
Right. Right. Like in this chapter, she talks about, as to your question about what role does race play in current day, she talks about the supposedly the laws now protect us so that we don't have the kind of racial disparity that was going on in the early history, but there are no federal statistics
No,
gathered to prove that.
no.
Which made me think about like the number of police killings, black people caught by police. Well, if no federal agency is gathering the numbers, we don't know.
We don't know.
Yep, it'll be whatever they say it is.
Yes.